Let's get ready. Hey, hey, hey. I got to take these off. Hi. Hey. All right, Savvy Sisters, we have a fantastic interview. And I even made notes on this one. So I'm going to get out the notes because I don't want you to miss. I want to make sure that I can ask the questions that really help you. That's not the notes. I have to get the right notes. And I know I have them in here because I specifically got them for you. Okay. So, hey, Chad is on. Yay, he's right on time. You gotta love that. He's prompt. All right, NeuroMarketing. Chad, I met in Florida at a CEO space. Hello there, Sally. Sarah. Oh, it's Sarah. Sorry, your picture confused me. Anyway, I'll tell you what. This NeuroMarketing is fabulous. I met Chad when I was at CEO Space, all right? And I'm going to bring him on camera. And I was amazed. Number one, I was amazed with the man because, okay, we're doing weird things with the phone. I don't know why. Okay, there we go. Chad, are you on?
I'm
Hey,
on. Good morning.
wow, aren't you prompt? I'm impressed.
I like to be.
All right. Well, I was telling everybody where we met. We
Mhm.
met in CEO Space in Florida, and I
That's right.
remember that. Yep. And I remember you guys were trying to get me to get more in touch with this neuromarketing and get my videos up there and everything else. So I think instead of me, well, now listen, give me a little bit. How long have you been studying this neuromarketing stuff?
Well, it hasn't always been referred to as neuromarketing when I started, but since about 2010, 2011, I've been involved in applying neuropsychology and neuroscience findings to the marketing world, to helping companies with their branding, to helping companies engage audiences and that sort of thing. Neuromarketing still to this day actually is sort of a nebulous term in many ways. If you Google it, it does have a Wikipedia page, and there are more and more agencies and companies that are starting to really look into it because it just makes a lot of sense with
Right.
everything that we've learned. So we're early days still in it, and that's purely a function
That's good.
of brain research
Yeah. Yeah.
and where it's
Neuro.
gone.
Right.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So, hi, Tina. Hey, I think you are new. Fantastic. Welcome, welcome. All right. Well, we want to talk a little bit more about this. First of all, what is neuromarketing?
yeah. So
Yeah,
it's kind of as the word implies, it's connecting findings in neuroscience and neuropsychology to marketing principles and distinctions and tactics.
okay. You
So
got to give an example. You got to get, because
okay.
nobody got that.
All right. So, quite simply, I mean, okay, let's take an advertisement. You want to do an advertisement that's on TV or in a magazine or on a billboard. In
Right,
the past, what we would have done is we would have made a bunch of assumptions about what the audience viewing that ad, how they would respond, how they would react, whether it would be favorable, whether it would incite them to want to buy your product.
right,
Now,
right.
because of advances in neuroscience, we understand how people's brains work, so we can actually apply certain aspects and say, well, we know people's brains work this way. So for example, people their brains work where they have an emotion, and then that
Right.
emotion leads to a reaction. So if we can predict the emotion that they have, we can better predict the reaction they'll have to your ad based on what's in the
Interesting.
ad, right?
Interesting. Right.
Yeah.
So if we can elicit the emotion that causes the reaction in that they buy the product or the service, then we have a step ahead.
Exactly. We're not guessing anymore because now that we can apply learnings and findings in neuropsychology and neuroscience, it's not a perfect science. It's a social science still in
Right.
many ways.
Right.
But we're
No
looking for
science is
patterns and
perfect.
connections.
No
No,
science
exactly,
is
right?
perfect. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No. 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 It's
It's
the world
another
of
data.
discovery.
Yeah, it's another data layer that we're
Yeah.
able to add on top of how we think about framing our brand or our product or our service to increase the likelihood that we'll get the engagement and the buying that we're looking for.
Okay. So what use an example with a product, would you? And also we're going to go also into other stuff, but I really want to make it clear, like if we were selling, let's use our wonderful green mop idea. Okay, so
Okay,
I
yeah,
have this mop that does this wonderful, can do instead of Swifter. Okay, so one
right,
of our savvy sisterhood, Tanya, does this. She's been on.
right,
So anyway, so now she's got this mop. Now,
yep.
what I'm going to advertise this thing. I want to get it out there. How can I use this neuromarketing for this product?
Okay, so there's a couple ways that you could do it. One way that we could do it is if you have data about your audience, we can actually look at the data that you have about and look for traits like um, personality traits, buying traits, demographic and psychographic traits, education, gender. We can
Okay.
look at these sorts of things. And then we can go to the science and we can say, okay, let's say it's, women 40 and up who tend to really want to buy this. So what we can do is we can look at the neuropsychology findings and the neuroscience, and we say, well, these women tend to behave this way in terms of how they make buying choices. So because
Ah,
we know this, we need to change our marketing tactics in this direction, whatever it may be. I haven't done the research on the mop, so I mean, we'd
right,
have to
right,
look at it.
right, right. We're
Another
just
way,
playing at it.
yeah, and then what happens is that data then gets fed into what we call a neuro story. So a neuro story is how do we talk about the mop in this case, right, in a way that that particular audience is going to really most resonate with, based on neuroscience findings and neuropsychology research in terms of how these people make choices and decisions. So marketing's always been about selling stories. That's there's nothing new there.
Right,
The
right.
difference now is that we're looking at the stories through the lens of well-researched findings on how the brain works so that the stories can become stronger and more subtle almost. We're not guessing anymore. A real great example, if neuromarketing and neuropsychology applied to marketing exists, would be
Yeah.
Coke. So back in,
Oh,
if you remember in the 80s, they got rid
yes.
of Coke and they came out with new Coke. If they had had
Not
the
me.
access, not you, you stuck with the old one?
No, they got me.
Oh, they got you? Yeah.
I was one of those neuromarketing people that succumbed to it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if back then we had the understanding that we do today about how the brain works, we just didn't have the tools to map it and to understand, right? And
You
with the
know,
internet, yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I want to go back. You know what? It was for for the Coke. You know what drew me in? It
What's
was
that?
total feeling. It was I
Yeah,
like to teach the world to sing. You know that
yeah,
song?
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
was I was a teenager. I'm listening to that and I thought, hell, I want to teach the world to sing. And
Right,
before
right.
I know it, we're having a Diet Coke. That was sneaky,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Well,
total
well, it
emotion.
is. It's
Total
always like
emotion.
that. Marketing's always been about emotion. Back then, we had to rely
Wow.
on focus groups and we had to
Yeah,
rely on smaller studies and analytics of people. Because of the internet today, the internet is like one massive focus group,
totally.
right? And
Totally.
so we can take that data and then we can marry it with what we're learning about how people make choices and decisions, which is really what I'm interested in, and
Right,
that's what's
right.
pulled me into this space. And we
Feeling.
do it in politics and we do it in brand campaigns, which I'm
Everything.
involved in all of that right now. Yeah.
So if a person, and this succeeds the ad. Totally.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
This
Yeah,
this is, guys, this is not, your ad is just one thing. It's your whole brand. It's your
totally.
whole it's how you relate to people. It is everything. It's embedded in your website. It's embedded in the way you present. It's embedded everywhere. Am I right? And
Yeah,
can you talk a
colors
little
you
bit about the
choose,
colors?
language you choose, the way you, if you're like a book author and you're a speaker or something, the way that you show up on the stage, the words you even choose to use. Like we get really kind of granular in terms of parsing apart. Use this word, not this word, because
Wow.
based on neuropsychology, your audience doesn't respond to this word very well,
Oh, that's
and
amazing.
it's very subtle. It's some people get weirded out by it because we're getting so sophisticated with it that it almost feels ultra manipulative. But the reality is, people make these decisions whether you like it or not from a place of emotion. So you're either choosing to relate to them in a way they want to be related to or not. And the thing is, they don't even know they want to be related to that way.
No,
But
they
it's
don't.
just based on their behavior that we know that.
Yeah. Let's okay, a lot of talk is all about, and I know a lot of us know out there, especially if we're in the service world, we
Hmm.
know a lot about NLP. Well, I
Yeah.
don't actually. I'm learning NLP because I found it fascinating. I find stuff fascinating.
Yeah.
Hello, Susan. How interesting mentioning the Coke song. That is in alignment with our premise that communication. She's going on. I'm going to have to read more on that. Yes, it is. She's an artist. So, but
Mm.
NLP,
Yeah.
how is that different? How is
Yeah.
that? Because that's sort of the same thing with the language and how you move your body,
Sure.
anchoring.
Sure. Yeah, 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 absolutely. Well, NLP, you could actually say that NLP pulls a lot of its principles and distinctions from the same sort of world. The difference is that NLP, it stops at a certain point, whereas with neuromarketing, we're looking at how do we build your brand story, how do we build the look and the feel of your marketing collateral, of your website, of the language you use. There's a certain amount of NLP that could be applied to this, but NLP just doesn't go as far
No,
as we go in the neuroscience space. But
because
NLP is definitely related.
yeah, and NLP is
Yep,
more you have to be there to do it. You know what I
you
mean?
have to be
Versus,
there. That's right.
but the languaging too,
Yeah,
anchoring that languaging, that
totally.
probably goes into the neuroscience. It
Yeah,
is totally fascinating. And guys, I know it sounds manipulative, but it really isn't. I mean, not if you're using it for good, number one, and you're helping people. But the other thing is, we are not conscious half the time. You know what I mean?
more
We
than half. Yeah.
science proves, it's proven, and it makes sense. 95, I read this last week, Chad. This is fascinating.
Yes.
Last week, and you keep up on all this, so you probably know it. Last week there was a scientist, darn it, forgot his name, but he has put it together that we think 95 95% of the time in our subconscious mind. And he even
Totally.
says, we think with our subconscious mind. That's the new term.
Totally.
We think with our subconscious mind. That is new. We have
Yeah.
always thought we think with our conscious mind. You don't
Yeah.
unless you are conscious of consciousness.
That's right. No, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
Actually, you could frame it
The
another way.
blocks. Yeah, go ahead.
The unconscious mind thinks us. We're not even aware of
Ah,
it.
I mean, that's horrid. You know, that
Yeah.
means you are not conscious 95% of the time. Ah,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah.
so you are reacting and you're living by those blocks, that critical mind, things that you've learned in
Yeah.
the past that don't even serve you, that sabotage you. You actually live by that. That guides your
Totally.
thinking. So when you are helping someone in a way that touches, you have got to touch the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
Because a person is not thinking with the conscious mind.
No.
And in order to do that, you've got just telling a person half the time they don't even hear you.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Yeah.
have to touch the subconscious mind. How do we touch the subconscious mind? Repetition and feeling, experience, something they can relate to that can get through the barrier between the conscious and the subconscious mind. Am I
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So that's what this is all about. That's why you anchor in neuromarketing. That's to get people to reach into their subconscious mind to really think,
Yeah. Yeah.
which
Or
sounds
to
so
not think.
funny. Or to not think.
Yeah.
That's better, Chad. That's it. To
Yeah.
not think and use the subcon, because as soon as you say this is going to help you and you need to buy it, they're going to shut down and all of a sudden think only with their subconscious mind. And every belief that I can do this on my own, money is the devil of all evils, all their little blocks are going to pop up there and stop them from doing what's good in their life. I've seen it over and
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What we actually teach is that you don't want somebody, when you're trying to sell something, you don't want somebody to start thinking about it with their conscious mind, to analyze it, to think about it,
Because you're
because
reaching in.
then, well, so what happens then is they start looking at sort of the cost and the attributes and all this sort of thing. If you tap them in the unconscious mind or the subconscious, they're reacting from a place of emotion, and this happens within 1.7 to 2.2 seconds. So one of the things we teach is
My
that
gosh.
the first thing they do is they feel. The emotion then determines which part of the unconscious mind gets activated for a reaction. They then react, and then they become only conscious of the reaction after they've already made the choice. And so then what they do is, we all do this, we tell ourselves a logical story about why the thing we just did made sense. Because we have to find a way to feel good about our choices and our decisions. The reality is 95% of them, like you say, are made before we're aware of it. And this is well documented in the laboratory and in scientific experiments, how choice making is made before we're aware of the choice that we just made.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so it would, it totally is. That's why you have buyer's remorse. And
Totally. Exactly.
and because all those, even if you're doing something that's really good for you, I see this, people, they're taking the step finally, they're taking, that's what the terror barrier is, guys. You take the step, you're starting to go forward, and then all of a sudden you get attacked by your blocks. and
Yeah.
and if we as a people could learn this. And Susan, bravo, darling, oh, you are on the ball. She says, be conscious of your consciousness, live in the
Mm-hmm.
present moment. But that's very true. But still, these blocks will come in and alter our present moment sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So
Totally.
it's really being very, it's asking yourself constantly, and keeping forward what you want. I always tell the story of when I bought my first house, and Chad, I was scared to freaking death. And
Mm-hmm.
I was doing it for my family. I needed to get them out of the house we were at. And
Right.
I bought this house for our protection, and I was going to get a mortgage. It wasn't buying the house that was scary. It was going for the mortgage. I had never had one, and I was by
Right.
myself. And so literally I turned into the plaza where the mortgage company was, and I stomped on the brakes. I broke out in a sweat. I mean,
Mm.
every block was just hitting me full force
Right.
and saying, this is not what, and this was something that was going to better my family. And yet I
Right.
had to fight the blocks. I had to
Right.
work through the blocks. And that's because I was conscious. If I wasn't conscious,
Right.
I
Right.
would
Right.
have said, oh, I can't do this. This isn't, they're going to eat me alive in there. I can't do it. And I turn around and go home,
Right.
which
Yeah.
is what 97% of the people do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Very interesting. So when
Yeah.
we're neuromarketing, we're helping people to succumb those blocks. But it is and get what they need to help them.
Right,
Really.
absolutely. Yeah, well, they're going to buy something. So what I always tell people is this. They're buying something, whether it's your thing or someone else's, they're going to buy something. The other thing is that the brain just works this way. So, I've spent a lot of time when I teach people, coaching them, that whether you like it or not, the brain works this way. The question is, are you going to leverage the knowledge that neuromarketing can provide you so that you can help people get what they really need? Because if you're not, they're going to buy something they don't need.
Yeah.
And that's going to be worse off for them.
Yeah.
So even though the tactics can feel like, oh, we're being manipulated, we're always being manipulated. All of us are, because we're 95% unconscious.
It's amazing.
So,
It's
right?
amazing. Ah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I still don't like it.
Yeah.
you know, but
No.
it is the state.
It was
It is a state.
and the reason the brain does it that way is because it's an efficiency thing. Can you imagine, if you had to make every decision you had to make every single day, driving your car? You make
Yeah.
about 100+ decisions just to
Every
drive
minute.
your car.
We
It would
do.
be overwhelming,
It
right?
is.
To have to every day try to think about that. So what the brain does is it really makes it more efficient for us. It turns things, once we learn them, into habits, and then those habits become unconscious. And that's the 95% of the way we live, habitual behavior. And so all we're doing with neuromarketing is we're decoding that habitual behavior, and we're inserting the messaging from our clients into that habitual behavior. So it seems seamless to the person who's making the choice. And so we like to look at it from the perspective of, we're actually doing good for the world, because there's a lot of bad people out there that are using these same tactics to
Yeah.
manipulate you and to
Yeah.
buy things that people
Yeah.
don't need, like drugs or whatever, right?
Oh God,
Let's
yeah.
use it to help
Constant.
people.
Yeah. I think it's a very good idea. So,
Yeah,
all right. So if, and even people who do services, this is even more important because it's hard to sell a service versus a product, you know?
totally.
So, and there are a lot of you out there selling services. But how, if people were interested in talking to you or learning more, how would they do it?
Well, actually, we've decided to actually do something just for your viewers. We're going to offer
Ah,
everyone who's interested a free 15-minute consultation where we can look at what they're trying to sell, and we can give them some pointers and some tips. And if this is something they want to proceed with, we can talk about that. But we'll definitely leave them with some value to just analyze what they've got. And so that's something that we can do through you in
I love
partnership
it.
with you. So if anyone's interested, just they should contact you, and we can go from there.
Now, have you ever dealt with a person who was pretty much conscious, very conscious, and do you
Oh yeah,
still think, yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah,
he says, and how did that work? Just out of curiosity, I'm very fascinated with the brain, by the way, if you haven't noticed,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that kind of, and science too, along with spiritual.
Maintaining. Yeah, well, and there's a spiritual aspect to it.
Yeah, there is.
Maintaining a level of high consciousness takes an enormous amount of energy and focus.
It does.
We haven't worked with them in the sense of as a client, but we work with them in the sense of we have retreats and workshops and things that we also do
Yeah,
where people can come and spend a couple days with us and really dig in and learn. And
yeah,
so we oftentimes will bring these people in as guests or use these people to help people really understand what true consciousness looks like and how you can
right,
operate. What we teach is two things. We teach that our clients and our customers, we want them to become more conscious. So we
right.
teach a certain level
Just
of
like
how
me.
to do that, right?
Right,
How
right,
to do that. Because if you're more conscious, you're going to be more effective in the world. And
right.
then what we do is we also teach that most people are not conscious. Like you said, 95% of people live in an unconscious state.
They
So
do.
what we are trying to do is marry, if you like, the most conscious business owners and service providers with neuromarketing techniques so that they can be of service to the unconscious people in the best
Oh,
way possible,
very
right?
well said. Very
Yeah,
well said. Guys, if you have a business and you're looking to get, you should at least do the 15-minute consultation because it
yeah,
is fascinating and it is so important because, right now in this world, we need the services of people who want to bring that light higher and that consciousness higher. And it's sad because I'm out in the world a lot. I don't stay in a cocoon all because I'm trying to be higher conscious or I work from home, but I'm out a lot, and it saddens me. It saddens me when I
yeah,
see people just totally in their subconscious mind that don't even understand where they want to be, or they don't even understand why they're making the decisions. And look at the people who are making decisions, thinking they're making the right decisions, and it's causing harm to so many others. I
yeah,
mean, look at that. That's really what's happening. It's the
yeah,
unconscious, not aware. And they're just living from their unconscious mind. They're not understanding that it's hurting so many other people. That's what's
totally.
blowing my mind more than anything right now. So
Yeah,
it's our
yeah,
job to bring that light to the world. And if that is helping people to get a higher consciousness and understand the brain, that's what we're doing and understand how to think. We do
yeah,
it two different ways, Chad, but we do it. And we need to
yeah,
get it out there. We need to get it
yeah.
out there.
We
So
we really believe
yeah,
we
go
really
ahead.
believe, Elena, that business for all of your viewers and listeners, business should be their vehicle to develop their why and their purpose to the world.
It
And
is.
and so we're really big on supporting conscious business owners that are tired of people being taken advantage of and want to actually
Yes.
contribute something that's of value and good to
Yes.
the world. And
Yes.
so we want to provide these techniques so that they can be more effective. And what we're going to do in the 15 minutes specifically, just to be really clear, is we're going to have anyone who's interested walk us through what their current brand story is around their product or service. How are
Yes.
you selling this? What are you communicating out to the world? And we're going to give them some tips on how they can actually tighten it up and improve it from a neuromarketing
I love it.
standpoint,
I love it.
and just give them that little edge.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
it. All right, guys, this is now Chad. Okay, Lefevre. Did
Yep.
I
Yep.
did it right? Woo,
You
I
did.
love it when I do it right. Okay, this is Chad Lefevre, all right? And how do they can type below. I'll tell you what, type below, yes. That's easy. Yes, I want
Yeah.
to do a 15-minute consultation. That's what you're saying yes to.
That's
And
right.
then
Yeah.
Chad will then he will answer. How do you want to do that? You want to answer or give them a link or probably
Yep.
answer them. Set up a time.
Yep.
How's that sound?
That's right. That's
Okay.
right.
And guys, listen, I have a new thing I'd love you to look up. If you go to Alena, you know how it's ALENA 360.com, I would love for you to go ahead and get on that. Very easy. It's in Google, Alena360.com, and look up because I have now this new system where you can go on Alena360.com and everything is there. Everything, not just my
Mm.
website, every social media, everything you could want. And let me know. Let me know. You can always comment. You can even put a post on Savvy Sisterhood and let me know what you think and what you enjoyed. I would love that. I would love that very much. All right. So, yes to Chad. You know, we need to get out in the world, guys. We need to get out in the world. All right. Chad, thank you so much for being on Savvy
Thank
Sisterhood.
you. It
It's a
was a pleasure.
fantastic community. It really
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
We're happy to be a part of it, and we're going to start getting really active in it as well to keep adding value and helping people. So,
I love that. That's a
yeah,
good thing. Always a good
yeah,
thing. All
yeah.
right, you guys. I love you all. Namaste. All right. Make it the best day you can. Bye,
Thank you.
Chad. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.